Thanks for doing this, Mr. Graff.
Well, I appreciate you being here.
Your last report shows that 15 youth in provincial care or recently left lost their lives from April to September of last year. Your report says that it's a record high. Do you know why the numbers are still going in the wrong direction?
I'm not sure. There's a variety of factors that come into play. Some of them have to do with opioid pandemic. It certainly has shown itself in terms of the number of deaths that we're reporting on. We're also concerned about the impact of the pandemic that it's had on the lives of young people. So much so that when young people are struggling and they are isolated, the impact of the pandemic just magnifies that isolation. And if they're really struggling, it can lead to some very difficult times.
11 of the 15 youth who died were Indigenous, almost 75%. That's an incredibly high number. What can the province do to reduce these numbers?
I think the Alberta government can take an active and involved role in supporting Indigenous people to care for their own children. The provincial government can play a very effective role in terms of facilitating that to happen and providing all of the resources that they can and all of the expertise to enable that to happen for First Nations, Métis, and Inuit.
This report has two main recommendations. Can you briefly describe each one?
Certainly. The first recommendation is related to the intellectual and behavioral challenges of young people. When young people have difficulties, those difficulties can be assessed early in their lives. And sometimes as they grow older, those assessed needs aren't followed through upon, and that can create some challenges for them. The second one is related to the need for accountability for the government for what they do in relation to recommendations. My group makes a number of recommendations, but so do other groups, and we want for the government to be more accountable for what they do and don't do, particularly in terms of the kinds of outcomes that they achieve. What have they implemented in our recommendations, and what have the results been for young people and their families? We know that our governments are really quite effective at writing policy and doing that kind of thing. But when we look at what's the implementation been like, what difference does it make for young people and their families on the ground when the government writes a policy? Do they follow through to implementation and achieve the results that they're intended to achieve?
Has the Alberta government implemented your previous recommendations, and are you confident that they will do your new ones?
Some of those recommendations have been implemented, but we're concerned about again the implementation of them. The government may say that they're going to take action or that they have taken action, but when we ask, can you tell us how much action you've taken? What difference does it make? What percentage of young people are receiving full assessments now that weren't receiving them before? The legislation, as it outlines now in terms of the Child and Youth Advocate Act, provides for only one requirement for the government, and that's to respond to our recommendations within 75 days. They don't have to tell the public what they've done, what actions have been put in place, what measures they've taken, what resources have been applied, what outcomes have been achieved as a result of responding to our recommendations. And we think that that's a reasonable expectation for Albertans to have with respect to child serving ministries.
Terry Pelton works in your office and takes over your position. Did you offer her any advice?
Yes, a considerable amount of advice. In fact, Terry and I have worked together for the entire time that I've been in the Advocate's office. We certainly had lots of dialogue. Most recently, in relation to this role, I advised her that it would be important for her to stay focused on the young people that we serve, and that means that she needs to pay attention to Alberta's young people, and she needs to pay attention to being able to move forward in ways that are respectful, that have the integrity of our office, and that really are focused on the rights, interests, and viewpoints of those young people. In fact, our office, over the time that we've been in existence, has advocated for more than 75,000 young people in this province. Those are accomplishments that are really significant and really do make a difference in terms of young people. The ability of our advocates, for example, to elevate the voices of youth is something that I'm very, very proud of.
Mr. Graff, thanks for your time and good luck in retirement.
Thank you.